Hey, happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome back. Great to see you. Got an update for you on what's coming on down the road, and I've got my eyes on a couple different areas for potential active weather. One little kind of storm system that could work on through early next week, and then about a week or so from now, a more potent storm system. And this one could bring active weather of multiple types, including snow, ice, and maybe severe weather as we round out January. And then all eyes are going to start turning towards February. And there are also signs of maybe a kind of seesaw pattern in February, starting warm and then potentially becoming once again much colder with snowy chances returning to the east. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Gerald. I'm a meteorology major at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. And if you haven't already, go ahead and like the video, subscribe, and hit that bell for the latest notifications. That's a great way to stay up to date while things may be a little more quiet now than they were earlier this month. Again, like I said, looking ahead into February, things look to pick back up as we go about 2 weeks or so from now. So obviously a way to go till we get there, but definitely watching that potential, and we'll talk about it in today's video. All right, with that said, let's go ahead and dive right on into the model guidance that we'll also add. You can go ahead and comment, let me know where you're watching from. And I want to say thank you as well to everyone who's even watching during these slower periods. So I know it's a lot of gibberish at the beginning. And in fact, I'll add one more thing here at the beginning. Sorry, it's a long intro. I will also say, obviously, this video for my regular viewers is coming out later in the day. I decided to go ahead and sleep in for the first time in months. And got to say, I'm feeling a lot more rejuvenated, if you will. I'm feeling a lot better. So hopefully you can bear with me and have one day with a little bit of a later video. But feeling a lot better, feeling a lot more energized, and always good to take a break every now and then. So with that said, now let's jump on into the data and start discussing things. Alrighty, so what we're seeing right here, this is our jet stream kind of map from the European model from overnight. And you can kind of see the general theme of where we could see ridges and troughs and storminess and not so stormy weather in the next about 10 to 15 days or so. So obviously this map goes out pretty far, and I'll kind of highlight a couple key areas just to give you a little intro to the video. So right here, this is one key area we're watching. This is going to be, again, about a week from now. And you'll notice one big kind of ridge in the east and a trough out west. This is a sign for a strong storm system. That's the one that could bring big time snow, ice, and severe weather. This is a big dome of heat building back over the east about 7 days from now. That combined with this storm system could spark severe weather. And we'll go further ahead on the model run, and it kind of stays that way for a while. Stays kind of ridgy in the east. Like I said, going to warm up towards the end of January and the start of February. But then we get back towards the middle of February, and we'll have to watch, but signs are that potentially, again, you're still seeing a ridge here, but this kind of troughiness could try to then book it back east, and that's what we're watching by about, we'll say, the second week or so of February. And again, I know that's well out there, and things could change, and they will change, but something that definitely there's been some consensus on in the models and kind of in the meteorological community in general. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about the near term a little bit, and then we'll break down the medium term, and then we'll talk about that long-term potential in that order in today's video. Now, right now, what we're seeing out there in our upper level height maps, we've got an area of low pressure cutoff low over California. That's bringing some active weather out that way. We also have a trough kind of over central Canada, kind of east central Canada, if you will. That's going to bring some active weather to the Great Lakes, the Northeast, and portions of the Midwest. And you can kind of see as I time this out, this general pattern is going to stay that way through the weekend. We've got this big block of cold air up into eastern Canada. We've got this cutoff low near California. And those are going to be the two troublemakers as we go through the next couple of days and even getting into the first half of next week. Now, let's go ahead and break these down for you a little bit, starting out west, and then we'll start in the east. Out west, we've got some Rocky Mountain snow on the way through portions of Utah, Nevada, Colorado, and even down into portions of Wyoming. Now, you notice that kind of stays stagnant throughout the day today. Again, time above my head, so you can see there, 7 p.m. January 25th. So you can go ahead and look at that. And then we go out into the kind of further west into California. Active weather begins there, I think, really overnight tonight into tomorrow, as this cutoff low kind of begins to translate down to the surface over the Pacific Ocean here just off the coast of California. And what we're going to get is that counterclockwise flow. That's going to help to increase moisture into Southern California. Now, the good news here is this is going to help kind of prevent more wildfires from breaking out in a big way. The not so good news is it is going to hamper that cleanup process just a little bit, but I think it's probably better that we at least get some rain and even some Sierra Nevada snow out of this than nothing at all. So I think definitely going to be kind of grateful for that storm system. We will also have to watch, does it pick up the winds a little bit? Now, the good news is, back when we had the unfortunate events in Pacific Palisades and other areas earlier this month, the setup was like this. We had low pressure over Arizona, and that was bringing Santa Ana winds down the mountains and towards the LA area from the deserts. Now, with the current setup, the wind is coming off of the ocean, so that's going to increase the humidity and actually help out. So kind of the opposite scenario from what created all the fires. And obviously that is good news for folks down there as we continue the cleanup process. And you'll notice through Sunday afternoon, folks, it stays that way. Kind of rainy, cloudy, snowy in the mountains. More of the same. Then we get this into Tuesday, or really Monday, I should say. This is Monday afternoon, still some scattered showers and snow showers. And then into Tuesday, and things quiet on down, but some snow showers lingering in and around the Four Corners. Now, let's bring it east here. Active weather out here as well with that upper level trough into Canada. That's going to also continue to ramp up snow chances in places like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. Here's this afternoon. You can already see some of that snow working on through those regions. Pretty quiet elsewhere in the east. Now, it's still cold for most of us, but you'll notice with high pressure down into the southeast, this is going to begin to ramp up that southerly flow out of the Gulf back into the plains, and we are going to slowly thaw out and heat up as we go through this time period. And I'll show you that temperature map later on in the video. But notice snow chances into Michigan. Eventually, this gets us into tomorrow morning. We've got some energy working through the northeast, bringing snow into New York, Pennsylvania, other portions of New England here, getting in on that snowy potential by Sunday afternoon and evening. Another thing to watch as this continues with this high pressure over the southeast, not a very strong one, but that return flow could help to bring some rain chances down into Louisiana, East Texas, Mississippi, Tennessee. This would be Sunday afternoon. And again, we've still got cold air trapped here to the north. So potentially, not a high likelihood event, but a likelihood is there, we'll say, for a little bit of snow to kind of break out here into northern Tennessee, Kentucky, maybe the mountains of North Carolina. It would not be a big deal, but some flurries to light snow Sunday afternoon, not out of the question there. You can see a little bit of blue showing up in that area. Even areas like Knoxville, the Tri-Cities could try to pick up on a couple flakes. This would be overnight Sunday at this point. At the same time, we've got lake effect breaking down into the Tug Hill. And overall, just pretty active weather in the east, all things considered, with this overall setup. And we'll keep on moving it ahead into Monday afternoon and kind of some of that energy lingering in the southeast, some light rain into Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Florida, and then a stronger piece of energy by Monday into Tuesday works on into the northeast. And you'll notice much higher end snow chances with this trough. And you can kind of see that embedded trough here creating a good amount of lift. This could bring some pretty heavy snow into the interior northeast, the Tug Hill, up into the Adirondacks, back down towards Erie, Buffalo, western PA there, even into the Pittsburgh area, into the mountains of Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and then kind of fizzles out before reaching the I-95. And then after that, we get into Tuesday and Wednesday, and check it out, another storm system working on through this area. It's just round after round after round of snow, and that gets us a little bit further out, and we'll have to move to the next model data to look at it. But before we get there, let's take a look at snowfall chances. And in fact, we have the latest data, so let me pull it up here for you. And get us into Tuesday afternoon. So this is now between Tuesday. Not a lot of snow into the Midwest, but some depending on where you're at. So if you're up into northern Michigan, into the UP of Michigan, pretty good amount of snow here. Isolated spots could get half a foot, would not be out of the question in those usual lake effect suspect places. And then maybe a dusting in portions of Wisconsin, Minnesota. Not a huge deal. Even back into kind of the areas outside of the lake effect, could get some snow in Michigan, but would not be as big of a deal. Now let's talk about the Northeast now through Tuesday. And you can see the higher end total is going to be up here into the Tug Hill. It's like it just never stops snowing here. It feels like a foot plus of snow just between now and Tuesday in that area. Also some good snow from Buffalo back down into Erie, PA. Could see some wintry weather out of this over the weekend and into the start of next week. Another thing to note, the I-95, nothing showing up. All of this really going to be an interior Northeast type setup. All right. So let's talk about what's next after that. That's kind of the near term. Now let's look at the medium range. What's coming on down the pipeline? Well, here's the setup where we left off. Tuesday afternoon, we've still got the same thing, folks. The jet stream is absolutely ripping it here between Canada and the U.S. up near the Great Lakes. We've got this cutoff low near California. So we kind of talked about all these pieces of energy. But the question is, how do they change? Now, during the medium range, which we'll call about Tuesday through Thursday or Friday, this area near California is really going to just kind of stay stationary. It's not going to do a whole lot. It's just going to kind of sit there. And that happens pretty often. Low pressure gets stuck in this part of the country. We've talked about this already this year with previous winter storms. This area has been notoriously tough to forecast and will probably stay that way. But the bigger thing I'm watching is, again, this area up near Canada and the U.S. border. Now, we've got this very sharp temperature and pressure gradient. And that's going to lead to a little shortwave pieces of energy moving along that. And here's a potent one by overnight Tuesday into Wednesday. Notice this dip in the jet stream and this subsequent energy that comes with it. This is likely to produce a potent little clipper system by Wednesday morning into Wednesday afternoon, swinging on through the northeast. And behind it, another thing to note here, that very sharp, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to draw that, that very sharp gradient in temperature and pressure scoops on down. So everything to the north here is going to get another shot of Arctic air. So again, we're not quite done. Everyone's talking about spring fever, and trust me, I'm ready for it as well. But we're going to get another shot of cold air into much of the northeastern half of the country by this weekend, or excuse me, by the middle of this week rather, and could also produce some snow with it. So that's kind of the setup here. And then that'll also kind of be the start of the setup for the long-range storm system potential that we'll talk about next. But before we get there, let's break down what this could look like at the surface. Now, this is a mix of models. We'll start with the GFS. Wednesday morning, you can see that storm system being produced by that shot of Arctic air. We've got snow into portions of the Midwest, the Northeast. Not a super huge map, but 993 millibars. That's a potent little storm system. And if it can tap into some moisture, it would be more than strong enough to produce heavy snowfall. Now, that's the GFS model. Let's take a look at the European model. Same thing, even stronger, a little bit further north. The Canadian model, a little more strung out with the energy, but has a storm system there. Our Icon model, very similar to the GFS. And the UK Met model, kind of similar as well there with its depiction. So the storm's going to happen. I think the bigger question now is just how strong exactly is it going to be, and exactly where is it going to set up shop. But let's time it out for you. Tuesday morning, again, timestamps above my head. This is that first initial push of Arctic air and moisture with it. That's what we talked about already with those previous snowfall totals through about Tuesday afternoon. But here we go, Tuesday evening into Wednesday. Here's that storm system bringing a blanket of snow to the UP of Michigan, northern Michigan in general through the thumb, back down into Erie, Buffalo, seeing some snow. And then this gets further into the northeast by Wednesday afternoon. Areas like the Finger Lakes, the Adirondacks, the Catskills, Massachusetts, potentially Boston, Vermont, New Hampshire, into the down east areas of Maine, seeing some snowfall Wednesday afternoon. And then this kind of moves off the coast and again could drop some pretty good snowfall totals as it works out of here. And then northwest flow snow and lake effect snow take over on the back end by Thursday. And you can see our next troublemaker showing up on the map down near Texas. Now, this is going to be a quick hitter. This is not going to be, a record book breaker by any means, but definitely going to be noticeable in this area. Here's snowfall during that period, and I'll kind of zoom in region by region here just to kind of give you a better idea. We'll start over here through Minnesota, Michigan, Wisconsin. This is the blend of models. Highest totals, per usual, going to be up into the UP, but even down near Washua, if I said that right, Green Bay, up into the northern bit of Michigan here near Alpena, even up International Falls, Ely, Minnesota there, really much of Lake Superior over into the UP, Marquette, Sault Ste. Marie, seeing some pretty good snow out of this one, and even down towards Cadillac, Michigan, and even into the Saginaw and Flint area, likely to see at least some snow out of this. Now, exact totals, that's going to bounce around a little bit till we get to the exact event, but you get the idea here. Pretty good chance of some snow falling in that area. Then we'll move it east here, and I think heavy snow into portions of Ontario out of this. Half a foot. I know it's not in centimeters, but if you want to convert it, go for it. Even up the road here towards portions of Quebec, going to see heavy snow. New York State through the Adirondacks, back down near Buffalo. Even places like Pittsburgh, the Alleghenies could get snow out of this. And then other areas I'm watching up near Boston, a mean already of about 2 inches. Will you get that much? We'll see. I think that's honestly probably a pretty fair bet right now. But if this storm's just a little bit stronger and it overperforms, check this out. These totals could be much higher. Now, if the storm's a little bit weaker and underperforms, these totals could also go down the drain a little bit. And this, once again, could be more of an interior northeast type event. But I think kind of the mean here is onto something and has a pretty good handle on the storm system as of right now, and should be a good one here in this part of the country. All right. And now let's talk about the long term. We've kind of got a storm system in every time period. We've got the short range, the medium range, now the long range, this big bowling ball piece of energy we were talking about back near California. Well, it's not going to stay there forever, and that's what's going to cause problems for somebody. Notice strong low pressure. Also, this is Thursday morning. We've got a ton of diffluence aloft here. Or divergence, or whatever you want to call it. Basically, what we've got is a ton of lift over Texas, New Mexico, portions of Louisiana, and Oklahoma. So I'm expecting a very wet middle of next week in this region. Now, whether that's snow or rain, probably going to depend on where you're at, but areas near New Mexico, back here into East Texas, East Oklahoma, this could be an area of snow, and then probably all rain up into this region. And with that rain, maybe some severe weather potential. We'll talk about that here in just a moment. Now, this is the GFS. At the time frame, let me show you the European exact same time. This is Thursday morning, and it's a similar look. Now, a slightly different orientation in the troughing here, but you get the idea. Here's the GFS. Here's the European. Now, one big difference is this trough in the northeast. Look at how much further that digs down on the European. That would indicate cooler temperatures in the northeast and even down into portions of North Carolina and Virginia compared to the GFS model. That's something to note here. But either way, they both show the overall setup. We've got this Arctic air mass in the northeast, and we've got this bowling ball of energy down into the desert southwest. And the question will be, how do they interact, if they interact at all? And the trend as of late has been not so much on the interaction side of things. If I move this ahead into time, you'll kind of notice our Arctic energy gets out of here, and then by the time it gets out of here, finally our storm system kind of ejects out of the desert southwest. This would be Friday into Saturday, and moves up through the Mississippi Valley into the northeast, and or into the Midwest rather, and causes kind of some chaos in the weather forecast. So let me show you what that would look like on the models here. We'll start with the GFS model. And you can see this is, back it up even a little bit, Thursday morning. Look at all this rain beginning over Texas. We've got heavy rain into Thursday evening, into Friday. Like I said, potentially a little bit of a severe weather threat down closer to the Gulf with this, and then snow back into New Mexico, the Texas Panhandle, the Oklahoma Panhandle, and then the storm finally gets ejected like we talked about, and brings once again that rainy, potentially severe weather setup by Saturday afternoon, as well as snow and ice up into portions of kind of Nebraska, Iowa. By the way, I saw a statistic earlier yesterday. I think Omaha has seen less snow than about 90% of the country. So this could finally be your time to get some snow, and it's better late than never, I guess, if you're a snow lover. Then this works up northeast, places like Minneapolis. Des Moines could get snow out of this. Rain really for much of the Ohio Valley into the Tennessee Valley. Good snowstorm up into the Midwest out of this through Wisconsin, Michigan, at least the northern half of Michigan, into Minnesota, seeing good snow, and then just all rain into the east. Now, it's a little different than yesterday. A couple days ago, this looked like more of maybe a CAD kind of ice setup in this area of the mid-Atlantic and Northeast. That scenario is not off the table yet, but it has downtrended since we last talked yesterday. Now, the European model, a pretty similar look. We've got all that heavy rain and snow back into the desert southwest, coming from the desert southwest into the southern plains by Thursday into Friday. Then we get to Friday evening, folks. This is a nasty, severe weather look on the European. Check out the squall line into Texas, Louisiana. Some of the places that just got nearly a foot of snow can now be dealing with maybe tornadoes and strong wind by next week. And that's the crazy part of weather. What makes it so fascinating to me is just how we can get these crazy swings. But definitely a severe weather look there on the European model. Then this moves up north, similar to the GFS, brings a swath of snow into Kansas, Nebraska, Iowa, brings severe weather potential into the east by next weekend, and keeps on pulling it north. We've got big snow in Minneapolis, portions of Iowa there, portions of Wisconsin, and gets this storm on out of here and really just brings some light rain, if any precipitation at all, to the east. And then after that, about 10 days from now, the European continues the train of Stormageddon, if you will, by the time we get towards the calendar flipping on into February. So an active look, and I think a feisty storm to come out of this one. And it could bring, like I said, multiple types of weather. Snowfall chances, well, check this out. Pretty good down here in New Mexico into East Texas, East Oklahoma by the middle to end of next work week. And then we get towards next weekend and a nice swath of snow in areas that honestly haven't seen a whole lot. Like I said, Nebraska, Iowa, Minnesota, we're pretty low on snow this year compared to previous years. But with this more favorable storm track, it could finally be your time in that region, showing a nice swath of snow here, even up into the Midwest. And then some snow chances into the Northeast out of it. But I think really We're going to be watching the Great Plains up to the Midwest with a track like this, showing pretty favorable chances of snow. Now, what about ice? Has come down since yesterday, but still some icing potential, especially along wherever that warm front sets up. So if our low pressure is here, like the model suggests, our warm front would be somewhere in here, and you can kind of see that's where the model is projecting that highest chance of ice as you kind of get that warm air to override the cold air. That's a classic icing setup, and then also a very small potential for some cold air damming, especially the further north you go, up towards Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, less so in the Carolinas than it looked like a day or two ago. So definitely good news on that, and could even bring some ice on into the Northeast. We'll just have to wait and see. Now, the other thing to talk about is severe weather. The chance of severe weather, yeah, folks, it's going to increase with this setup. Check this out. By Thursday into Friday, we've got higher end severe weather probabilities down near Texas, Louisiana. Now, not off the charts, nothing screaming at me saying, send out the warning to everybody, but it's going to be something we watch. Could uptrend. It normally does, honestly, from, kind of this range, and then could kind of hang around through much of the middle of next week as well, seeing that severe weather season kind of back into the usual suspect places during January and February, down near Dixie Alley, into kind of the, we'll call it the forest of Louisiana, East Texas, into the Texarkana area, the Arklatex, if you will. That area also kind of more prone to severe weather this time of year. And one of the reasons for it, folks, is this. This is our temperature map. And in fact, I'm going to kind of pull up a curveball here, and we're going to kind of discuss a couple things in the long run. So let's actually look at this and see if we can kind of decipher just a little bit. So this is the European ensembles, their chance of kind of below average or above average heights, meaning kind of really the air temperature in a way. The blue colors, that's more shallow heights, meaning denser, cooler air. The red, that's more ridgy weather, with more warmer, kind of higher heights. Now, I'll move this ahead through this weekend. Here's that next shot of Arctic air we need to watch out for in the Northeast. And it truly is Arctic air, just not everyone's going to feel it. Eastern Canada, you're absolutely going to get thrown in the freezer here. Even the Northeast, especially the interior Northeast up through New England, likely to feel it as well. But as we go through next week, this is when the warm-up comes, folks, ahead of our next storm system. This is why we have a severe weather potential. We've got a big ridge building in here, and this is going to be nice, honestly, for folks in the east who are tired of the cold. Just wait till about a week from now. We get to next weekend. It looks much warmer, much more spring-like, even with some rain flying around. And then obviously snow on the backside of this up into this swath that we kind of talked about. But ahead of it, it's going to get warm, and that's going to increase the severe weather potential. It's going to increase kind of everything that we haven't seen in a while ahead of that storm system. Now that moves on through, and I think this ridge hangs around. This is in through the first week of February. You'll notice all this orange in the east, that blue in the west. That makes sense to me. I think this is going to be about right, but watch what happens at the very end of this. Yeah, here we go towards about the 9th, the 10th of February into the second week. The blue returns to the east, and with that, cooler temperatures and potentially another chance of snow as we get towards the second half of winter. Now, I know that's 2 weeks out. That's why we're not talking a ton about it, but I'm going to kind of start to tease it here in the videos for all my snow lovers who maybe want one more chance at something good. Kind of temperatures here, it's going to stay cold in the east through today. We start to warm up a little bit, but then comes that shot of Arctic air. Here we go. This is Tuesday into Wednesday rather. Look at the Northeast, a lot of blue and pink showing up. But after that, we're going to warm up pretty good. You see that blue and pink hangs around a little bit. But by next weekend, look at all this red and orange in the east, indicating warmer temperatures returning to the eastern half of the country. And that could hang around for a while. But watch the second week of February. Check this out. Ensembles all in on another shot of Arctic air by the time we get towards the second week of February there. So that's something we'll watch. I'll keep you up to date. Again, active weather in the middle term and the long term, and then the super long range we're watching as well for that flip back to winter. Alrighty, folks, that's all I got for you. Again, apologize about the later upload. While we're in this more quiet period, I'm going to try to rest a little bit, rejuvenate a little bit, and get prepared for whatever February has to offer. With that said, y'all have a great one. Stay safe, stay warm. I'll see you all next time.